Ryans has 4 interviews before the division. Is defense going to be ready? Let's talk about it. Let's talk. This is a good topic. So apparently there are 5 openings so far. He's got interviews with 4 of them. He's already set up 2 of them this week, and I guess he's going to set up the other 2 for this week or next week. Do you think this is something that could actually affect the 49ers in the upcoming game?
I don't really think so. I think he's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to be ready for it. I mean, he's been doing it all year. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference. Honestly, if you watch DeMeco and the way he's been calling defense all year, it's pretty much been the same for a majority of this season. Not much variance. He basically dares people to beat him. He mans up. He expects pressure from the defensive line, and he just expects his team to beat the offense. He just thinks they're superior, and it's just like it's like when you're playing basketball and you just play man defense. Go out there and man up and beat your man. And it seems like that's kind of what DeMeco's been doing. I don't really think it's going to affect, his. If we know anything about DeMeco, he's a professional through and through. He's going to make sure he's prepared for this game and that the team's prepared.
That's true. I guess the only reason I'm a little concerned is that, frankly, his defense hasn't been playing its best right now. The offense is playing its best. The defense is not. Yeah. And I don't know why that is, but even last week against the Seahawks, who don't have a great offense, I thought the defense was not its best, especially in the first half. And DeMeco does great against the Kyle Shanahan disciples, the Sean McVay disciples, the Matt LaFleur disciples. He faces that every day in practice. He's great against it. He struggled against Andy Reid and Josh McDaniels. Guys, I mean, from other coaching trees. And he's got this week 2 guys, Mike McCarthy and Byron Leftwich, who he doesn't know as well, although he did face Byron Leftwich a month ago. That helps. But still, I mean, if the defense continues to not play its best, I think people are going to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. To his credit, going against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes hasn't been easy for anyone, right? But I will say this defense, the key to this defense is pressure on the quarterback. When we don't get pressure on the quarterback, everything else falls apart. And, you see against the Raiders, against the Chiefs, against Seahawks, there was no pressure, right? And when there's no pressure, the quarterback's able to do their thing. The defensive back unit for the 49ers have benefited because of the pass rush, particularly Nick Bosa. And when Nick Bosa is unable to get to the quarterback, they kind of show that they're just not as great maybe as we think they are. They're very good. I don't think Charvarius Ward is a bad corner by any means. It's just they have relied on that pressure. And I think teams that understand that, teams are seeing that. And so they're game planning. They're doubling Nick Bosa. They're chip blocking Nick Bosa. And they understand that if they get away from Nick Bosa, they're going to have a lot more time and the corners are going to struggle a little bit more. And I think that's really just what we're seeing. It's when Nick Bosa is not able to get the quarterback, everything else breaks down.
So what you're saying is that DeMeco Ryans doesn't do that much, which is what Pete Carroll said last week too, right? The Niners don't try to fool you. They don't do a whole lot on defense.
Right.
So what you're saying is DeMeco Ryans might not be responsible for what makes the 49ers so. I'm just saying, teams that are thinking about hiring DeMeco, are you hiring him for his leadership or for his defensive acumen? Because again, there's a lot of DCs look good when the front four is dominant.
He's not doing anything exotic, right? It's just line up and beat your man. And the defense was good with Saleh. The defense has been good for a long time. And it really is all based on getting to the quarterback. 49ers made that their priority when Kyle Shanahan.
Yes, but Saleh got hired the year after Bosa went down because he showed that he could put together a top 5 defense without Bosa.
That's true.
And I don't know that DeMeco can do that. Or maybe if he can, he hasn't had the opportunity to show it yet, which of course he doesn't want that opportunity. But
they had Buckner back then, right?
Not in 2020. He didn't have Buckner. He didn't have Bosa. He had Jason Verrett, and he brought a lot of pressure that year, and he could get away with it because he had Jason Verrett. But still, it was impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Saleh.
Kerry Hyder.
Yeah. But I think that the DeMeco, I think, is going to be a good coach, not necessarily because he dials up exotic defenses. I think it's just because he's a good leader. And so I think he'll be a good coach as long as he gets good coaches around him. that's going to be the key for him. Like, who's your offensive coordinator going to be, and what franchise are you going to be with?
True. Also, how much do people want DeMeco, or how much are people interested in DeMeco as a head coach because of his defense or because of the culture that that teams want? Like, teams want to probably recreate what the Niners have. So they're thinking maybe we could get DeMeco and Rand Carthon and get like the front office and the coaching staff and get to sort of like another version of the 49ers. I mean, Miami did it. The Jets did it. That could be what's going on right now. Although, how good are Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel doing? I mean, guess that's in the eye of the beholder. You could argue they've had a lot of success early on in their careers. You could also argue, I don't know. They haven't had a ton of success yet, either one.
I think with Mike McDaniel, you're seeing his struggles as a rookie coach. But I also think he's done a tremendous job building the confidence. If you think about the quarterbacks that he's had to work with this year, I mean, he made he gave Tua confidence he never had. Now, Tua had multiple concussions, and that definitely hurt his play after those concussions. And then he's had second and third string quarterbacks that I think
he didn't even pick his defensive coordinator. I think Miami made him keep him. The thing with Saleh, I guess that would make you a little nervous if you were hiring Ryans and he's like the next Saleh, is Saleh has already fired his OC 2 years into his tenure. Yeah. So, DeMeco, who's your OC? And why do we feel like you're not going to have to fire him 2 years? Because I'm sure Kyle didn't want to fire Matt LaFleur. They're family friends.
Yeah. And that's why if I'm a GM or an owner, I'm not hiring a defensive-minded head coach personally. Now, I know DeMeco, he's going to get a job somewhere. I just don't like that. That's not how I build a team. I build it like 49ers built Kyle Shanahan. Hire an offensive mind, because then it's consistent and it never changes. When you're a defensive coordinator, defensive-minded head coach, and you're not responsible for how the offense is playing, you might have to change your offense every year, every 2 years. And we saw that with the 49ers in the early 2000s, and that's a problem.
I mean, yeah, and even if you find a guy that doesn't leave, it's probably because he's not that great. Like, look at Seattle. Yep. One of the best defensive coaches of all time, but their offensive coordinator is Shane Waldron. Look at Belichick.
Yeah. And
his offensive coordinator is Matt Patricia.
And if you find a guy that's good, he's out of there the next year anyway. Yeah,
exactly. That's true.